Last time you were with us, we were unfortunately leaving Minorca and the Balearic Islands behind us as we set off on a 24-hour passage to mainland France. But despite the passage taking 10 hours longer than expected and getting caught in one of the biggest thunderstorms we've ever seen, we made it to France in time to put our boat in for warranty work.
Okay, so what can I tell you over the last few days? We ended up putting our boats into a marina for 5 days so that we could get the warranty work done. It was given to an excess dealer called BMS in Canet on Roussillon, and from day one they have been fantastic. We had a full handover, went through everything that was the issues on the boat, and then we went and took a little holiday away from the boat whilst the work was being done. And we came back and everything has been fixed. We have a new head because we had a leaking head. We've got our sails fixed. Right next to BMS was Incident Sails, and they've done a fantastic job. They look so slick and like brand new, so we're super happy with that. And yeah, we're back on water. We headed down to Coulier for just an evening, which is a cute little town, just for a stopover. But now we are running away from some big winds that are coming in. So we made a big decision this morning, and we are doing a big sail across from Canet-en-Roussillon over to Marseille. We were planning to hug the coast around past Montpellier. However, we've got some pretty big winds coming in, so we've decided to run away from the winds and go straight across, which is about 95 nautical miles. We'll do an overnight sail, so hopefully that'll take us less than 24 hours, and we'll run away from these winds that are chasing us at the moment.
So the last passage we had was from the Balearic Islands back to mainland Spain, and that should have been a 24-hour passage, but we were cursed with slow winds, incorrect forecasts, and we ended up taking about 34 hours to complete that. And if you saw our last video, because of that delay, we ended up running into a storm. We're really hoping we don't have the same fate on this passage. It is a shorter passage, but at the moment it seems to be history's repeating itself. We have low winds. We're doing 3.4 knots at the moment with about 8 knots of wind speed. We are going pretty slowly, and we're having to tack. We're sailing directly into headwind as well, so we're tacking up, and it is slow. We're hoping the wind's going to come round. It should come round onto a beam for us. It should pick up. But at the moment, our arrival is tomorrow evening, so we really hope the winds come so we can get there tomorrow morning, because I don't want to repeat all of our last passage. We've had to get the engines on.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Engines are on for 2 minutes apparently. But when you're doing sub 3 knots and you're bobbing about in the sea with a big long passage ahead of you, I think Ruth's all a bit eager to get engines on at times. So we're keeping ourselves entertained on the passage by fishing. This is the first time we've actually fished off the back of Runa, and it's all because Jack, Ruth's brother, is quite a big fisherman, and he's come insistent that we do some fishing. So we have our rod set up and we're fishing off the back of Runa whilst we're on passage. We've seen some big schools of tuna, some mackerel, but nothing has taken our bait yet. So we'll see what we can catch. Hopefully we catch something. It's been very quiet on the fishing front for the last few hours. We'll see. We're hopeful. As Jack had joined us for a couple of days, I was hopeful that he could catch us something for our dinner. So he set to work trying to lure in some big fish. I've never fished before, so I grabbed my own rod and asked Jack to give me a crash course in fishing 101, and I set out to catch my own dinner.
And whilst the boys were distracted fishing, the wind began to shift, and we began picking up some speed and headed straight for our destination.
Hi!
We're sailing!
The wind came, and we have 7.5 knots of speed now from about 11 knots of wind, thanks to our code 0. We've got it up because we're now on a beam. Good stuff.
Thankfully, history is not repeating itself, and the forecast was correct for the first time for a long time, as long as I can remember. We have an accurate forecast. The wind has shifted. We're no longer sailing head to wind. The wind has come round on a beautiful beam, about 10-12 knots. We have a 7.5 knot boat speed, and we are heading straight for our destination. Thank you. No more tacking. No more jibing, just a beautiful fast sail to our destination. And with calm seas, very little swell and the sun shining, the conditions were perfect for Jack's first sail aboard Runa.
After a tough morning of tacking upwind, we were loving the rare opportunity to sit back and sail directly to our destination.
We made the most of the calm conditions and continued with our fishing efforts. Though I was beginning to get a little bit impatient with the lack of fish-orientated excitement. But it was dinner time, and with the lack of any fish, I took charge of cooking something from the fridge. Okay, so cooking on passage is never fun. I've drawn the short straw tonight. We're having chicken fajitas. Ruth came to be my sous chef to chop up some vegetables, and she's taken a knife through her finger. So we're doing a bit of first aid at the moment, patching her up. The ironic thing is she just sharpened the knives this morning and told both Jack and I, guys, I've sharpened the knives, please be careful. And then it's her that goes and sticks a knife through her finger. She is quite clumsy. Don't tell her I said that. She's very clumsy. So we need to get her patched up, and then it's dinner time. And with the finger patched up, dinner was served. So fishing update. We haven't caught anything. We've had a line off the back for hours and hours and hours. And we have been told catching something off the back of your boat is pretty hard work. And you've got to be pretty lucky to be able to get something to take your bait. We were flying a spinner at the moment. I don't know what that is, but if you have any suggestions on what we should be using or how we can have a little bit more luck whilst fishing off the back of Runa, let us know in the comments. We would love any tips and tricks you might have. We have great wind, we have a big old swell pushing us along, and we're doing 7.5 knots. So the evening is going great. We've just had dinner. The only downside we have had is Ruth deciding to chop her finger off. So, oh. We got a sad Ruth tonight.
But despite the injury, we continued to make some good progress on our passage, with constant wind pushing us along at 7 knots.
2, 3, 4.
So the passage is actually going really well. Normally, Ruth and I don't have much luck when we come to crossings. We aren't fighting the wind. Normally we're tacking or jibing. We're heading straight for our destination, which is awesome. We have really nice wind. The wind's actually picked up quite a lot, so I don't know if you'll be able to see behind me. We've got rid of our code 0. The wind just built up a bit too much, so we furl away. We've got our genoa out, and we only lost about a knot of speed. And actually we're still doing about 7.5 knots at the moment, which is perfect, absolutely ideal for what we need. And I think, and you'll see behind me, we're going to be treated to a beautiful sunset. The skies are clear, no storms this time, and yeah, it is all clear for a lovely evening sailing. And we were treated to an amazing sunset. And as the sun went down, we settled in for the night, ready for a calm sail through the night.
The next morning, after an uneventful night of sailing, the sun began to rise, and it was probably one of the best sunrises I've ever seen. And as we approached land, our chart plotter burst into activity, with shipping channels, ferry ports and fishing boats to negotiate.
At 6 AM, I came onto deck to relieve Ruth from helming and to let her get some sleep. I also took some time just myself to enjoy the sunrise. Within just a couple of hours, we finally arrived into our anchorage, just along the coast of Marseille. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear it, but we have wind this morning. We have woken up to 30 knots, over 30 knots of wind. It has been windy all night. We're currently sailing on anchor in a bay. Marseille is about a 2-hour sail away from us. So we're gonna use this wind and fly across to Marseille. Why not take advantage of it? We're gonna reef up and we're gonna have a good sail today. I'm excited. Let's go sailing. I took the helm, and even though we were reefed in both our foresail and main, we were picking up speed and had a pretty epic sail.
So we've only got a little sail today, so we're traveling 8 miles down the coast to try and find some shelter for the night. I've got my brother and Andrew sailing today. We've hit 10 knots a couple of times. The swell is carrying us downwind. And just behind me, there's a little island that is just off Marseille that should give some really good shelter from the wind and swell for the night.
Marseille was dead ahead. And whilst we're excited to visit, there are no anchorages or shelter from the wind and swell. So we're heading across the bay to the Frioul Islands. And after a very fast sail, we arrived. Frioul Island is a beautiful rocky archipelago just across from Marseille that should give us the perfect protection from the large forecasted wind and swell. So we've made it. We've just arrived in the anchorage and this is a super protected little spot. There's a good bit of space for a few boats. There's pretty high cliffs that are protecting us from the northerly winds, and we've got lots of protection so we can hardly feel any swell at all. It's really, really calm in here. And just look at it. How beautiful is this?
And this felt like the perfect opportunity for Jack to prove that he could do a backflip. And Ruth, keen not to be outdone, decided to join him.
The tourist boats decided to see who could anchor the closest to us.
Wow, I think that was the best sail I've had probably my whole life ever, maybe, I'm not sure. We set off this morning, it was 30 knot gusts. I don't know if you can see or tell, but it is still very windy. And we're tucked in a protected anchorage right now as well. We flew across just from mainland France and through to a little island. I don't know if you can see Marseille is directly behind me. It's about 2 nautical miles this way. But we are at this beautiful little island at the moment. It's uninhabited, but it looks beautiful. We're gonna go for an explore. But on the way here, we maxed out at 10.5 knots. Our average speed must have been 8.5. We were flying along. That's the fastest we've ever had Runa. We've not had Runa above 10 before. And it was a lot of fun. Normally Ruth gets all the fun. Normally I'm working down below. Ruth is the one sailing. But this time I took charge this morning. We went sailing and I timed it perfectly. What a sail. And whilst the wind was still fairly calm, we took the opportunity to explore this beautiful island. And the island had a lot of history. It features a 16th century fortress that was later turned into a prison, a quarantine hospital, as well as some beautiful beaches.
Okay, so it's day 3 of being on the island just off Marseille. We've taken shelter. We've had 3 days now of 30 knot winds, really consistent. Tomorrow we've got over 40 knot winds, so we're staying put and keeping in this nice little spot. So today I'm entertaining myself by trying to find some mussels. So I've got my bag, I've got a little float so people know where I am, and my snorkel, and I'm going to see if I can go and pick some mussels off these rocks just behind me. And then it was time to brace for impact. 40 knots of wind was due to hit us, so we got the boat prepared and settled in for a windy evening. These strong winds persisted for the next 24 hours, so we stayed on board, unable to go anywhere, just to ensure that Runa was safe and secure. These are the strongest winds we've ever anchored in, and whilst the anchorage gave us some protection, we learnt that this is about the limit that we can safely anchor in on Runa.
We survived the storm. 40 knot winds turned into almost 50 knots on anchor, so it was a bit gnarly, but we survived. And we slept pretty well. Generally, it was okay. We were in anchorage with one other boat, and we had loads of swinging room. The wind was consistent one direction, and it was fine. We did have a bit of a boat casualty though. We heard a loud bang, and our bridle snapped under the tension when the wind started building up to over 50 knots. And one of our shackles has bent. I don't know if you can see that in the camera in the video, but it's bent out of shape. And that led to a whole shackle, our whole bridle snapping off. So we had to get up just before we went to bed and reattach our bridle. Apart from that, we woke up the next morning, the storm had passed and the sun is shining.
So now that the storm has passed, I cannot wait for the next part of our journey along the French coast towards the French Riviera. If you like our videos, it means the world to us if you would subscribe. So please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us for the next part of our journey.